Excellency, thank you for joining us and welcome.
Thank you.
Kinshasa hosted the 14th edition of the Francophone Summit under the theme Environmental Economic Issues in Good Governance. As your country, the Republic Democratic of the Congo, takes over the presidency, what can we expect and how relevant are these issues to your country?
Well, the issues are extremely relevant when you talk about the environment, and if you realize that the Congo has more than 70% of the Congo Basin rainforest. This is the breathing lungs of the whole of humanity. And as human beings, we have the duty to preserve the rainforest of the Congo Basin. So this is an issue which is very close to us. Good governance, the president said it again, that his government will strive to make sure that good governance is the policy of the day. Economic development, obviously the Congo has gone through so many things. We have suffered a lot, and the president and his government are doing everything they can to spearhead a new economic development for the Democratic Republic of Congo. But the issues that were discussed there will be a challenge not only for French-speaking countries, for the Francophonie, but these are issues that concern the whole humankind. It's a universal thing. The world is a global village, and we hope that the issues that we tackle as Francophone countries are the same issues that are tackled by the Commonwealth countries or countries from organizations throughout the world.
Your Excellency, the new world space, cultural space, has become a very competitive one. What new strategies are required by this organization to weave its way through that cultural space?
Well, the culture is an area which is a meeting of give and take. A very famous French author and former president of Senegal said in French that the rendezvous du donner et du recevoir. When two cultures meet, obviously there are things that you take from the other culture and there are things that you give to the other culture. It's very competitive. We as Africans, we believe that our culture has a lot to teach humankind. We must work, first of all, to preserve that cultures don't disappear, and that's one of the challenges that we have tackled at the Francophonie Summit, the preservation of our African cultures, and I say it in plural because there are many, and at the same time, take the positive sides of our cultures and make them at the disposal of humanity. And that's how we'll contribute to the development of thinking, the development of the way of life all over the world.
What are the challenges that you foresee for this organization?
Well, the challenges are many. We live in a world where competition is the rule of the day. The French language is competing with the English language. Let's face it. Of course, for a country like ours, the Democratic Republic of Congo, French was introduced to our country in 1886. And since then, we are French-speaking people. Myself, despite the way that I'm speaking to you in English today, I dream in French. Also in Swahili, which is my mother tongue, which is my African language. So multilingualism is a positive thing. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, everybody speaks at least 2 languages. At least, minimum 2 languages, everybody. you must add to that French, which is our lingua franca, which is the language that's spoken by everybody. We have more than 400 ethnic groups here. So it is to be difficult for us to communicate. And we use French as the language of communication in the Democratic Republic of Congo. At the same time, it's the language of education, it's the language of business, it's the language of government, it's our official language. And we have those 4 big national languages that we use as well. But we think that, as it was agreed at the summit, we have to promote multilingualism. We are French speakers, of course. We will not lock ourselves and say, okay, because we are a Francophone country, we will not learn English, we will not learn Portuguese, we will not learn Spanish. No, that's not the case. As a matter of fact, if you want to be able to be marketable for the young people in the world of business today, you have to master, you have to be able to understand, to communicate, and to work either in English, in Spanish, in Portuguese, in French, of course, and in many other languages. So at the Francophonie space, we promote multilingualism. It's a challenge, and a challenge that we are determined to meet.
Now, let me take you back to the opening of the 14th Francophone Summit, where we saw some new heads of state and some very good speeches. I would mention a few, like the new president of Tunisia, President Marzouki, President Macky Sall of Senegal, and then we also had François Hollande of France. But I want to refer to the speech of your president, President Joseph Kabila, where he talked about democracy and the rebellion in the East. Can you enlighten us about this rebellion, what is happening there, and why it's not being settled so far?
There is a rebellion in the East. The United Nations, in an effort to understand what is happening in the eastern part of the Democratic Republic of Congo, may I remind you that this situation has caused many, many deaths. More than 5 million people have died because of these recurring rebellions and wars in the eastern part of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Now, the United Nations did put that panel of experts who stayed there and tried to understand what was happening. And they came up with conclusions. And the major conclusion was that our neighbor to the east, namely the Republic of Rwanda, is the one which is supplying and fueling all these different rebellions in the East, causing all the miseries, causing all the human rights abuses, causing all the rape on women, and all sorts of things, all sorts of miseries that have been happening there for the past decade. It has been established, black on white, not by us, by the United Nations, that Rwanda is at the base of this. Now, what the president said is that the borders that we inherited from colonialism are untouchable. So the president asked the international community to do something about it. As you know, we are a country that has suffered a lot. I mean, we come from more than 3 decades of a brutal and vicious military dictatorship under Mr. Mobutu. And after that, we've been going through all these wars. And we're trying to organize ourselves. I mean, the result is that the president, his efforts can be seen with an open eye. Look at the summit itself. Nobody believed that we could be able to have the capacity to organize a summit that will have more than 50 head of states and governments converge to Kinshasa to sit for 2 days and discuss. So if you look at our recent history, you will see that it's a commendable effort. Now, the world has to do something about it. It's one thing to come and see and know the culprit, and it's been named as Rwanda. Now the president wants the international community to act upon it. Ask Rwanda to stop the madness, and also help us in removing those bandits, the terrorists, who are occupying 2 territories of North Kivu in our territory. And I think that cry has been heard because Mr. François Hollande, the President of France himself, said exactly the same thing. He said that, well, we already have more than 17,000 United Nations troops in the Congo. It will be useless to add additional troops. Let's change the mandate of the UN troops who are stationed in the Congo and help monitor the border between Congo and Rwanda so that this madness can stop. So that's in a nutshell the situation.
The tragedy in any conflict or in any war are women and children, and we've heard a lot from these women who were present there with their petition at the opening of the Francophone summit.
Absolutely. I mean, many human rights organizations, whether it's Amnesty International, Global Witness, Human Rights Watch, they have said it time and again that rape is being used as a weapon of war. When those soldiers come in order to intimidate you, they rape your wife, they rape your children in front of you, immediately you don't feel like a human being anymore. You are intimidated. And this has been going on for so many years. And these rebels, these so-called rebels, these bandits, these terrorists, as I call them, have been doing that for the past decade. Now that it has been established who is sponsoring the madness, it is high time that the world come to our rescue to help us, to help in our efforts to stop this, so that all those women and men from the eastern part of our country can go on with their lives. That's all they want, nothing else.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
The pleasure was mine.